Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hard Knocks Fighting TV. I'm Ryan Ballantyne alongside Ari Tobe, the president and CEO of the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship, and some of the best MMA in the world is about to hit your screen. Stay tuned. Next up, the amateur debut for both Kenny Bueller and Riley Pequin. Ari, both of these guys will have big cheering sections for them in the hometown crowd tonight.
Big cheering sections, and these guys are the new breed of MMA. These guys have been training MMA since they were kids. They're making their amateur debut, but I expect them to have great skills because they've been at it for so long.
Kenny Bueller and Riley Pequin getting set to head into the cage to make their amateur debuts next.
This school of Hard Knocks Fight is an amateur bout in the 185-pound division and is brought to you by Kaleo Health and Spine. And now, let's meet the fighters.
Next up, a fight between two guys, Jeremy, that may have a better skill level than you're used to seeing from amateur fighters. Riley Pequin and Kenny Bueller coming into the cage. Both of these guys have been training since they were young teenagers, getting ready to step in the cage for the very first time here tonight.
Well, you can hear the crowds yelling from behind us here as both these guys brought a lot of fans with them. And Riley Pequin, again, you said he started training when he was 6 years old. I remember when I started training at 10, I thought I was young. And these guys have the benefit of seeing that the UFC right from when they were young, so they're able to train as mixed martial artists and going in through that. And this is going to be an excellent fight, and it's going to be very loud in here as both these guys brought a lot of fans with them.
You can hear the Kenny Bueller fans making their presence known, and the rival Kenny Riley chants going back. This is probably the loudest I've ever heard it for two guys making their amateur debut. But Riley Pequin started at 6 in Taekwondo, transitioned to karate, and then at 15 made the move to MMA and has been training MMA exclusively since. Says that this is the purest sport out there and no better test for himself as an athlete than to step inside the cage, and he will certainly get a test tonight. So Riley Pequin steps into the cage for the very first time. As he takes his lap, will get set to meet his opponent.
And his opponent.
Well, you can hear from the crowd who's coming out next. Kenny Bueller not even waiting for the entrance music, bursting through the curtain and getting out, and he's very excited to be making his way down to the cage. I talked to him at weigh-ins, Jeremy, and he said he was that irritating kid that his mom always had to tell him to be quiet and stop pestering her. Well, once he got into the cage, it wasn't him pestering his mom anymore. Now it's the coaches. Let me fight, let me fight, let me fight. He first emailed Sarah for a fight at Sarah Hard Knocks on Facebook. At the age of 15, she made him wait till he turned 18. He cannot wait to get in the cage.
Well, and his older brother, KB Bueller, fought here in this very cage and was very impressive in his fight here. And so he has to live up to that family reputation, the younger brother often being the better of the two brothers. As we look at our tail of the tape here, as it's just gone away, just a couple difference in age there. 20 years old for Riley Pequin and 18 for Kenny Bueller, as you mentioned, Ryan. And looking here at Kenny Bueller getting ready, but in the cage at Riley Pequin looks very athletic, very good base, strong body, an MMA style body. He's not too big in the areas where it matters. You sometimes see guys come in and they're all jacked up in the arms, or they've got big legs and no arms. He's got a very balanced body, as does Kenny Bueller. So these are very good fighters in that they have the body structure to be set up to be successful.
So Kenny Bueller hears it from the crowd as he steps into the cage. And in talking to Kenny, he said he doesn't know much about Riley other than he's got a karate background, and the game plan is to watch out for the kicks of Riley Pequin.
And now, the official Hard Knocks Fighter introductions. In the blue corner for Build 360, it's his amateur debut. He's 20 years old and stands 6 feet tall. He weighed in at 183 pounds, fighting out of PMA Karate from Calgary, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Riley Paquin! And in the red corner for Pete the Plumber, the superhero of plumbing, it's his amateur debut. He's 18 years old and stands 6 feet, 2 inches tall. He weighed in at 181.5 pounds, fighting out of Hayabusa Training Center from Edmonton. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Kenny Bowler. This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Andy Social.
Andy Social, our referee. Again, both these fighters a little more well-versed. They both come to the center of the cage.
Just wanted to say
for
hi.
some final instructions, but all those instructions were given earlier this evening. So just time to fight. And again, you can see that anxiousness from Kenny Buller just running across the cage to get at Riley.
Oh, there's a big spinning body kick there, and now a cod kick and a big slam there by Kenny Buller, ending that takedown with authority. Only 15 seconds in, and we've seen a ton of action here from these two fighters. Passing the guard and getting into side control, but right back standing is Kenny Buller and Riley Paquin, and this one is going to have fireworks all over it.
Yeah, a very quick start from both of these fighters as they both came around, and Riley, that big jumping spin kick and a nice take, and a big spin kick again to the midsection. A huge kick from Riley as he swarms Kenny up against the cage, knocks him down, and a questionable punch there for a head to the down opponent, Jeremy. But the speed of this fight, absolutely incredible. Riley swarming Kenny Buller.
Well, and these guys here are putting on a show. You can hear the crowd, and if they could keep the pace up, my worry and concern is this is a lot of energy being expended by both these fighters.
And just off his knee that time was Kenny Buller. Riley Paquin is coming in and coming in hard. Kenny is bleeding and Riley is swarming. A very impressive start here for Riley Paquin.
I'm wondering here if Riley Paquin may have punched himself out. He doesn't look like he's breathing hard, but you use all that anaerobic system to be able to punch that hard. That lasts for about 90 seconds. After that, you run into the aerobic system, and your anaerobic system will catch up. And so we'll see if this is affecting. Now some heavy breathing coming from Riley Paquin, and now it's Kenny Buller who's coming forward with a big slam.
And a huge takedown there again of Riley Paquin from Kenny Buller. He has put him on his back effectively twice, and Kenny really bleeding here, Jeremy, and a rough start for him in the striking, and kind of covers up the blood there, but you can see it dripping down the back of Riley Paquin. Kenny Buller is bleeding badly, but in a dominant position.
And it's coming out of his nose, so there's no danger there for a cut or anything like that. And this is what I was concerned about for Riley Paquin. He came out hard, and he did damage. Nobody can deny that, but does he have anything left? It's a long fight.
And again, a nice pass there from Kenny Buller.
Cage got in his way, unfortunately.
Kenny slipping, a nice big blow to the midsection, taking the shots you can take from the top here in Calgary. A big shot there. And Kenny Buller has done a good job, Jeremy, of trying to show that he deserves to win this round. He may have taken the worst of it on his feet, but the 2 takedowns and now a minute of control may swing this in Buller's direction.
It's going to be a tough round to call for those judges because Kenny Buller did dominate most of the action here, but there was some big punches, and there we go, and you look at the face of Kenny Buller. He does not look healthy, but it doesn't look like it's a cut. It just looks like there's some mouth bleeding and some nose bleeding, so nothing too major. They're going to have a look at it, but Kenny Buller says he's okay. Might have bit his tongue. That's probably where most of that blood is coming from in his mouth. But wow, what a beginning of a round here for these two fighters.
Can't ask for much more than that, as we see our replay here, as it's Kenny Buller with the big slam. And again, in the amateur rules, not allowed to drive your opponent up and down, just picks him up and drives him down. So well within the rules there.
Yeah, and like I said, it does look like he got a bite of that lip there, so there's a lot of damage in the mouth. The good thing is that bleeding will heal up and will not necessarily cause anything to happen in regards to a referee stoppage, because it's in the mouth, but they are looking at it very closely, and we'll see anything that comes there. And they are calling the fight, so perhaps a little more damage than I thought. And so unfortunate there for Kenny Buller, because, and you can see he looks dejected in the corner. He is very upset now.
And now, the Big Four Motors Hard Knocks 34 official decision, brought to you by Kaleo Health and Spine. The winner by TKO due to doctor stoppage at 3 minutes, and in the very first round, in the blue corner, Riley Paquin!
Riley, you come out. You come out in your amateur debut and you put on a show for the fans, absolutely hammering them with punches and doing enough damage that he's unfortunately unable to continue.
Feels, am I allowed to swear? Probably not. Feels amazing. I just get the first one out of the way. Hopefully many more fights to come.
Now we'll just take a quick look up here at the replay screen. We're going to show some of that flurry of punches. Walk us through this stretch.
I've landed that jump spinning back kick pretty clean. Kind of rattling back a bit. I just saw the opportunity to throw a knee and then just tried to flurry him. There's so many emotions in this cage, man. It's not just trying to control them all and fight the best you can, and shit doesn't go your way, try something else, you know what I mean? Like, technique-wise, not a different sport.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for your winner, Riley Paquin. So, Ari, that fight exactly as advertised. Riley Paquin came out and absolutely dominated on the feet, and Kenny Buller showed no quit in coming back and taking him down and controlling the fight for the last half of the first round. A great fight by two very good up-and-coming fighters.
These guys are not 0-0 fighters. These guys are really, really good, and I can't wait to see them both fight again.
Now, hopefully not a too bad injury situation for Kenny Buller, as he'll have to go get checked out by the doctor, but hopefully we'll get to see both of these guys back in the Hard Knocks cage very soon.
And initial thoughts are a broken jaw for him, but we hope he recovers fast.
So Kenny Buller falls to Riley Paquin in their amateur debut.
To find out more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
Next up, a fight between Pat Jeanette and Peter Arbo. And Ari, a contrast in styles in this one, because of course you've got Arbo, who has 50 Muay Thai fights in his background, whereas Pat Jeanette really kind of came up rough and decided to get into cage fighting, and he's got a knockout and he's been knocked out. Two very different fighters here.
Right, but he has a lot of amateur fights. Both these guys have a lot of fights. I don't care if it's in Muay Thai or MMA. Fight experience is competition experience, and I expect these guys to be really high-level guys, even though they don't have very big MMA records.
Yeah, 8-6 as an amateur was Jeanette, as he gets set to take on Peter Arbo.
This School of Hard Knocks fight is a professional bout in the 180-pound division and is brought to you by Scott Safety Supply Services. And now, let's meet the fighter.
The amateur fights are over. It is time for the pros to step in the cage here at Hard Knocks 34. And the first guy we get to see in our professional division, Pat Jeanette, who comes to us at a 1-1 record and a win by knockout, a loss by knockout. Jeremy, this guy is ready to stand in and fight.
Well, he is got a big fist that he likes to throw. And in his fight that he won, he was able to land that good and solid, but he ended up with a really tough opponent in his other fight. And it was just, unfortunately, he got caught on the wrong part of his jaw there, and he got put down. And we are seeing him come out to the cage now. A very strong fighter, but always wanting to look for that knockout. He's done a very good job in dropping weight. Spent some time training with Jesse Arnett, who's a wrestler known for dropping a ton of weight. And he dropped 20 pounds in 4 days, but did it in the right way. And he's feeling that he is ready to go here. The weight cut's not going to affect him. And excited to step in the cage is our fighter here, Pat Jeanette.
So Pat Jeanette takes his lap around the cage, and we will await his opponent.
And his opponent.
So now we meet Peter Arbo, who will come down to the cage, not for the first time in MMA, Jeremy, but certainly not coming to a cage for the first time, as Peter Arbo has 49 fights as a Muay Thai fighter, 48 amateur, 1 professional, and that is why he's making his pro debut here. Once you get paid to fight once, you are paid to fight forever. And so no amateur record in MMA for Peter Arbo, but a very gifted striker.
And Peter Arbo, gifted striker, may be an understatement. He is a very excellent Muay Thai fighter. I have seen him fight personally in Muay Thai here in Calgary at the Century Casino, and he's got a fairly good mean face, and he rocks some very good punches. Has ended a number of fights here in the Century Casino.
He said he watched Steve Jellicoe, and we'll take a look at the tail of the tape here. Almost nothing separating these two fighters, 1/10 of a pound and 1 year, but the record it should say 1-1 there for Pat Jeanette, as he had the 1 win and the 1 loss, but debut fight for Peter Arbo.
So as these two fighters get ready to fight in our first pro fight of the night, we're going to throw it up to Jay Denance, who has our official introductions.
And now, the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the blue corner for Build 360. He's 1-1 as a professional, 26 years old, and stands 6 feet, 1 inches tall. He weighed in at 179 1/2 pounds, fighting as an independent from Mississauga First Nations. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Pat Jeanette! And in the red corner for Pete the Plumber, the superhero of plumbing. It's his professional debut. He's 27 years old and stands 6 feet tall. He weighed in at 179 pounds. Fighting out of Emergent from Calgary, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Peter Arbo! This bout will be contested under professional rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Andy Social.
Andy Social, our referee, as Peter Arbo gets set to come out in the white trunks with black trim out of the red corner, and it is Pat Jeanette in the black trunks with the white and red trim getting set to sprint across the cage. Pat Jeanette out of the blue corner and does not want to touch gloves. He wants to throw them and does so early, getting a right hand through and forcing his opponent up against the cage.
Well, and he asked Peter Arbo, and Peter Arbo said, no, I don't want to touch gloves. And I think Jeanette saw that as a bit of an insult. Some big, wild punches. Arbo has been here before, though. He's taken some big punches, and he is down on the mat right now. And MMA a little bit different from the Muay Thai that he's used to. The Muay Thai, this would be called up at this point, and a choke here. It's just a gable grip right now for Jeanette. He doesn't have that full rear naked choke. But Arbo needs to keep this fight standing if he wants to keep it where he's comfortable. And Arbo, a very calm fighter, and you saw that during the pre-fight when he was being announced.
That wasn't a still shot.
No, his facial expression did not change. We were watching it live. Yeah, you're right. There's nothing wrong with your monitor.
Arbo up against the cage now and has Jeanette pinned there, and we'll see the Muay Thai knees likely come to effect here. And you can always tell when a guy's got that Muay Thai background, Jeremy, because the knee snaps in.
That's right.
Doesn't. It uses the hip as well. It snaps and turns, and you can tell that that's what Arbo's going to be looking for, and that's what Jeanette's going to be trying to prevent as another knee to the face there from Arbo, and those knees come high as well.
And Arbo looks very calm in this situation. It's new to be in the MMA, but the gloves are lighter, so the punches are going to be coming a little bit faster. And now he's got the back, and some big shots landing. And you can tell the crowd is here, and they're cheering for Peter Arbo. Some vicious knees landing to the side of Pat Jeanette. And you can tell that Andy Socha's going to be right on top of it, telling Jeanette, do something, and he's had enough.
This fight is over. Peter Arbo demolishes Jeanette on the ground with knees and gets a win in his first pro mixed martial arts fight.
And first mixed martial arts fight at all, and you can see Arbo is a little overcome with emotion here. I know that he sacrificed a lot. His camp, his camp from his Muay Thai background did not necessarily support his switch into MMA, and I think that that's a little bit of an outburst of emotion there by Peter Arbo, and amazing sportsmanship being shown here as we look at our feature productions.ca replay of Peter Arbo. There's the big knee that landed that opened up the nose and face of Pat Gillette.
And now, the Big Four Motors Hard Knocks 34 official decision. Brought to you by Scott Safety Supply Services. The winner by referee stoppage due to unanswered blows at 1 minute and 51 seconds in the very first round. In the red corner, Peter Arbo!
A very impressive performance from Peter Arbo as he demolishes Pat Jeanette. Ari, those knees were coming from a very long distance.
Look, those knees are the next new move in the UFC. Getting behind a guy and not going for the submission, just going for the knees there is a great way to score. It's tremendous damage. Guys will finish fights there all the time, and especially you amateurs out there, it's a great move.
So a first pro fight win with no amateur experience, although I guess 50 Muay Thai fights will help.
I don't care. He was great.
Peter Arbo, your winner over Pat Jeanette.
To find out more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
Next up, a fight between Chad Anheliger and Mike O'Neill. Anheliger seems to have learned his lessons, Ari, as an amateur. Not a lot of wins as an amateur, started to pile them up once he turned pro.
Come on. The reason we fight amateur is so that we get competition experience. That's what it's for. I don't care about someone's amateur record. What I care about is they get fights and they get competition experience and they get better. And Helliger's had some fights and he's better.
Now on the other side, we've got Mike O'Neill, a highlight reel head kick knockout of Jesse Arnett earlier in his career here for Hard Knocks. A very tough guy and looking to get it done here tonight.
Hey, Mike O'Neill's a tough guy. He's got a wrestling background. He'll understand how to control the cage. Amazing highlight reel knockout before. I can't wait to see what he does this time.
They call Mike O'Neill the caveman bully, and we'll see if he can bully Chad Anheliger here tonight.
This School of Hard Knocks fight is a professional bout in the 135-pound division and is brought to you by Sophia Models International. And now, let's meet the fighters.
Coming down to the cage first, the caveman bully, Mike O'Neill. And you'll, if you recognize Mike O'Neill, it's because you've seen him in our highlight package over and over and over again. After that head kick on Jesse Arnett, timed perfectly. Arnett's hand had just come off the canvas, and Mike O'Neill taking advantage and taking the fight to Jesse Arnett.
And he was torn after his fight. He went over and he ended up breaking Jesse's jaw in that case where Jesse had to have surgery. And Mike O'Neill was saying to me that he was really broken up emotionally about doing that because he's taking away a man's ability to make money off of mixed martial arts and make money in his career. Not to mention what it does for your job, that you're not able to come to work because your jaw is wired shut. And he talked about that, and you can imagine now being at home what you must go through for Mike O'Neill, who's a very, very soft-spoken, nice guy, smart guy, and what he has to go through in the punishment that he dishes out. He is a caveman bully. He's got extremely, extremely high levels of strength for his weight class, and he is going to continue to be successful in his career. And good to know that even though these guys fight and they fight at the top level, they don't necessarily want to kill their opponents, just enough to win.
That's right, and Mike O'Neill now steps into the cage and gets set to face off against Chad and Helliger, and this one should be a good one as Mike O'Neill, a very tough customer and ready to fight, and a third daughter on the way for Mike as well.
Congratulations.
And his opponent,
his opponent, Chad Ann Helliger, though, coming down to the cage. 18-month layoff for Chad Ann Helliger, and now he just felt like he wasn't mentally prepared to fight, and now he's ready to step in the cage. And again, you talk about transformational fighters. Chad Ann Helliger is one of those. He now looks like a fighter. He looks like a guy that should be in the cage, as opposed to earlier in his career, especially in his amateur days, where it really didn't look like he had committed to the fitness required to be an MMA fighter.
Well, and he was the first one to admit that he was not ready to go pro when he went pro. He just found that he couldn't find enough fights in amateur and went to step in, and he lost his first fights in pro, and he didn't look ready. When Chad Ann Helliger stepped in with an 0-2 record and he faced off against Chantha Bun, he destroyed Chantha Bun. It was a bloody mess. As we look at the tail of the tape here, a couple inch reach advantage and height advantage for Mike O'Neill, 2-year advantage, and we look at the records, 2-3 for Ann Helliger, 3-2 for O'Neill. But Ann Helliger was a transformed fighter, and we've seen him grow up here in the Hard Knocks cage, and I'm excited to see this fight between two guys, very explosive and very, very accomplished mixed martial artists.
Coming off a loss to a flying triangle that he says is an embarrassment, Chad Ann Helliger will try and get back on the winning track here today with a tough opponent in Mike O'Neill. And now for the official introductions, we'll head inside the cage to Jay Denance.
and now the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the blue corner for Build 360, he's 3-1 as a professional, 29 years old, and stands 5 feet, 8 inches tall. He weighed in at 136 1/2 pounds, fighting out of the Fight Center from Thunder Bay. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Mike the Caveman Bully O'Neill. And in the red corner for Pete the Plumber, the superhero of plumbing. He's 2-2 as a professional, 27 years old, and stands 5 feet, 6 inches tall. He weighed in at 135 pounds, fighting out of Knuckles MMA from Calgary. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Chad Ann Helliger. This bout will be contested under professional rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Brian Beauchamp.
Brian Beauchamp, the referee in charge of the action, as Mike O'Neill gets set to come out of the blue corner in the black shorts, black trunks for Chad Ann Helliger out of the red corner, as both these fighters look to continue an impressive start to their early mixed martial arts careers.
And look for the power of both these guys, have the ability to end fights with one punch. Chad Anheliger with very damaging punches. He causes opponents to bleed as soon as he hits. His first punches normally cause blood to come out, so some very quick hands. And of course, we all know about Mike O'Neill's power. Good takedown there by Mike O'Neill using his wrestling, and this is now officially the longest we've seen Mike O'Neill in the Hard Knocks cage.
Well, on a big slam there, taking his opponent to the mat with authority, Mike O'Neill. And it's a good thing the cage was there, Jeremy. That takedown had enough power that if the cage wasn't there for O'Neill to bounce off of, he would have rolled right off the other side.
And you look now at Chad Anheliger, who is using his guard to try and neutralize Mike O'Neill's power. Mike O'Neill moving him to the cage, trying to use it as a brace so that he can work his way out. And when he has something to push Chad Anheliger's head against, so that when he lands the punches, Anheliger's head moves less.
And you can hear the coaches yelling, keep grinding his head on that fence. And not the most pleasant experience up against the Hard Knocks cage.
Having felt it, it's not that great.
Mike O'Neill on top of Chad Anheliger.
Anheliger being very calm here, now working the Kimura. The situation that they're in now, he can't really use it to sweep from this position because he'll run into the cage and won't be able to get complete control with it. Mike O'Neill switching to the side, wants to get to side control, has both those legs locked together with his hands, trying to slip his leg out to get into that side control where he can work those knees that Ari Tobe, CEO of Hard Knocks, is very, very fond of.
Mike O'Neill escaping the clutches for a moment. Anheliger had his one hand trapped, and now he's out of that, trying to find himself a choke here. And then there's the knee.
And being very careful not to land that knee to the head. Anheliger still a downed opponent. Now he's up. And good cover up. If you watch there, very common strategy out of a takedown and some big bombs being thrown by Anheliger. He wants to catch up in a hurry, but Mike O'Neill stepping in for another takedown and trying to get some elevation, and elevation he's got. Some good pressure on that guillotine, but trying to counter that right now is the Caveman Bully.
Mike O'Neill trying to distance himself and pop out of that guillotine. Anheliger trying to tighten it up. It doesn't look like he's got it totally under the chin from here, Jeremy, from the angle I can see, although it's getting a little better now. But Mike O'Neill doing a good job of posturing up, creating that bridge to take the pressure off his neck, being it straight up and down as opposed to that held back position.
Right, and Anheliger wasn't very deep on it, but it does affect the energy system because it cuts off the blood and oxygen. Now here's an armbar attempt by Anheliger. Seeing that he's not going to get it, he does abandon it to a better defensive position. He's getting some big shots, is Anheliger from Mike O'Neill.
Mike O'Neill now passing into the half guard. And just using the heel of his hand to hit the side of Mike O'Neill. Anheliger from the bottom, but O'Neill trying to complete the pass, and instead it's Anheliger returning him to guard.
1 minute and 10 seconds remains in the round as we look at our feature fights clock in the corner there. And a good so far grappling round here by Mike O'Neill, and he is landing strikes patiently. There's another good one there, eaten by Anheliger. Anheliger now taking a few fists, and now we've got a heel hook, and it did come out, and now on the top is Chad Anheliger, and this is where he's very dangerous.
Yeah, Anheliger firing out of that heel hook attempt and landing on top, but I mean, Mike O'Neill just powering out and now inside control of his own.
We didn't see it in his last fight because it was really fast, but Mike O'Neill is a very accomplished wrestler in Ontario, and he is continuing to put the pressure on, and that is a position you work in wrestling all the time. You're on your back, you got to bridge out and get off, and he did an excellent job there the second the weight came off of him.
Trying to step over, looking for the mount. Allows Anheliger to get a bit better of a position, trying to find his back, and scrambles out. Just 10 seconds left in round one. Anheliger trying to drop elbows from the top and trying to get away. Looking again for the heel hook or the leg submission there. Mike O'Neill finishing the round strong. A good round, first round from both fighters. And Helliger, when he had the opportunity, landed some good strikes. But on the other side, Mike O'Neill, a very good performance.
Being offensive in jiu-jitsu is helping him defend the strikes from Chad Anheliger.
Yeah, and Mike O'Neill doing a very good job of staying busy from the bottom as well as on the top. Both of these guys doing a very good job when they're on top. And we see these guys getting set here for round number 2. Again, we did see 90-second breaks for the amateurs, just 60-second breaks here for the professionals as we get set for round 2 of a potential 3 5-minute rounds between Chad Anheliger and Mike O'Neill. Brian Beauchamp starts the action off, and we are back at it. O'Neill looking for that front kick. Again, ended a Hard Knocks fight with a head kick to Jesse Arnett.
Probably the most vicious head kick you'll see, actually. Just feeling each other out. A big kick there to the leg. And Helliger trying those side kicks to the stomach. Mike O'Neill working in the grappling now. Gets some elevation. A big slam there by Mike O'Neill. That was done with authority.
Third one of the fight where he has picked up Chad Anheliger and taken him for a ride. And Mike O'Neill again in a dominant position on top. And Jeremy, those slams certainly have to count if you're an official.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a big difference if you look at these guys in size. Chad Anheliger doesn't cut weight. So he makes this weight just walking around. Maybe perhaps skips breakfast that day. But Mike O'Neill cuts a significant amount of weight for this fight. So there is a size difference between the two, and you could see in how easily Mike O'Neill is slamming Anheliger down in these grappling situations.
Now Mike O'Neill has moved into the half guard position, trying to land some punches from there. And then Helliger's done a good job, Jeremy, from the bottom, getting back into his guard. Although it looks like now just a half guard spot, and we'll see what Mike O'Neill can do from here.
You look at Anheliger using that half guard to take away the leg base of Mike O'Neill for that right hand. He needs that right leg to be able to secure a really good spot to land that shot, and that's what Anheliger is taking away with the half guard. But you look here at O'Neill again being on the top for the most part of this round so far and the most part of the round previous. So this is not a bad position for Mike O'Neill to be in.
O'Neill continuing to be on top of Anheliger. Anheliger throwing those punches from the bottom. Again, not necessarily a punch, but more of a with the heel of his hand, striking the side of Mike O'Neill.
Well, you end up with, at the point near the end of the fight where your hands have been in a fist for such a long time that you actually end up with forearms getting very sore, and it really affects your grappling game. So keeping the open hands and hitting with the heel of the hand does do damage, but it doesn't necessarily affect your forearm strength for grips later on in the fight. So good combat intelligence by Chad Anheliger.
Mike O'Neill continuing to work from the top and working in that dominant position. His coach is happy with the way he's moving so far. A very, very loose half guard here. Mike O'Neill just basically on top, and Anheliger trying to use his knee to keep that distance, Jeremy.
Yeah, and now you see Mike O'Neill attacking the legs. So anywhere you can get some significant strikes, and what this is going to do is it's going to take the power base away from Anheliger in that striking game.
O'Neill continuing to be in the dominant position, and Anheliger has spent the majority of this round on his back since that slam coming earlier from Mike O'Neill, the third of the fight, and now he might have caught an arm here. We'll see if O'Neill can pop it loose. It's not that deep yet.
O'Neill needs to stack up right now.
Yeah, and Anheliger needs to really create that distance, but O'Neill just pulls himself free. And again, goes back to that side control position on Chad Anheliger. And you think earlier when we saw the knees coming, that this might not be the worst time to think about firing a knee into the midsection.
Well, not at the expense of position. If you look at Mike O'Neill being very patient, he's just trying to focus on landing blows to the head, dropping those short elbows, and trying to damage his opponent. A good hammer fist there to the jaw of Chad Anheliger, and now a nice drop forearm shiver.
And again, trying to pull that arm bar, and O'Neill just pulls his arm out of there, letting Chad know, not today.
Well, the tough thing here for Mike O'Neill is he's not actually stacking Anheliger up, which is what you really need to do in that situation. Because if Mike O'Neill's grip fails, he's going to end up in a very, very bad position getting armbarred. So stacking up Anheliger is the better way to defend that one. But Mike O'Neill doing a great job swarming, keeping Anheliger on the bottom and not giving him a chance to do anything.
And Anheliger trying to throw some offense from the bottom, just 10 seconds left. And again, looking for that heel hook submission in the last 10 seconds of the round. We saw it at the end of round 1 and now at the end of round 2. He's going to eat some punches here. And that reversal of fortune may not be enough in the eyes of the judges to award Anheliger the round, but it certainly doesn't look good in the eyes of the judges to give up your dominant position and end up eating those punches at the end of round 2.
Well, and I would suggest that Chad Anheliger, that's not what you want to do for Chad Anheliger, is give him some hope. You just got smothered for the entire round, and now you've given him some hope coming in as we look at our featureproductions.ca replay. Here's the end of the round, the heel hook attempt, and here's some big shots being landed by Chad Anheliger, and he's going to bloody the nose of Mike O'Neill, and it's like being up 40 points in football at the end of the first half, and right at the end of the half deciding to give up an easy touchdown without any problems. And don't give your opponent hope, and that's what Mike O'Neill did in that situation.
So Mike O'Neill getting looked over by the coaches from Dynamic MMA. Of course, O'Neill coming to us out of Ontario, and as a result, he kind of a rent-a-coach. And the guys at Dynamic always happy to corner the guys from out of town, offer them some solid support, and happy to help guys that can't bring out their own corner guys.
Well, it's tough to make them all travel, and the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship does a great job in flying out these fighters, but to fly out coaches and trainers and everything, it can be very expensive. And Mike O'Neill saying he really appreciates the class that Hard Knocks has in regards to making sure he always has a hotel room. Some big punches landed by Chad Anheliger, and Mike O'Neill been all over, and he did an MMA fight where he didn't actually have a hotel room for the fight. So some action pushing forward, and this is where Chad Anheliger wants to be. He wants to continue to be the one who's pushing forward and being aggressive. Perhaps Mike O'Neill a little bit tired after being on top for that long. Again, a weight cut does really affect a fighter in the later rounds because you get tired. Chad Anheliger never has to worry about that. And a nice big right hand from Anheliger.
Yeah, and Anheliger still dancing back and forth. O'Neill a little bit slower than he was in the first 2 rounds, but still looking for that shot, and a big kick to the chest on the ground, and I'm pretty sure I know what's coming here, Jeremy.
Yeah, good slam. He's going to set it up. He's going to take him right to his corner, and he's going to slam him down so his back goes up against that cage because it doesn't feel good. And the Knuckles coach, Max Marin, telling Chad Anheliger, stand up if your back's against the cage.
And O'Neill continuing to work that position, trying to find the back of Anheliger. He may have it here, Jeremy. It's whether or not he can get a hook or 2 in to hold that position. He's trying to get the 1 hook in now, has that 1 hook, and if he can hold the back here, there's a lot of time to work with here for Mike O'Neill.
He needs to be very patient and not rush the position. If you rush the position, you end up losing it. And you could see the power of the punches that Chad Anheliger threw earlier in the round because, and we have a possible tap here. It's in deep, and Anheliger will tap, and Mike O'Neill, being patient with the position, ends up securing that rear naked choke and securing the victory.
A great finish there from Mike O'Neill, tapping him out to a rear naked choke, and like you said, Jeremy, patience was the key for Mike O'Neill on top. Chad Anheliger will fall to 2 and 4.
Yeah, a tough break for Chad Anheliger, and he looks very disappointed that he wasn't able to put forward more in this fight. But an excellent job here by Mike O'Neill, as he will push his record now to 4-2, and some great things for him. And I know that he's been battling with some family issues over the years, but he did an excellent job in this fight, and his wife and kids have nothing to be concerned about as we look at our featureproductions.ca replay. Mike, I'd love to talk to you. Hey, good fight. And this is the end of the tap here, and getting Chad Anheliger. Again, we talk about the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship. We bring in a lot of the same fighters. We've tried to see these guys grow, and we end up having a little bit of a family atmosphere. And I get a chance to talk with a lot of these guys pre-fight, as does Ryan, and so we have a great opportunity to get to know them as individuals as well. Looks like we have the official decision, and for that decision, we'll throw up to the veteran voice of the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship, Jaden Nance.
And now, the Big Four Motors Hard Knocks 34 official decision, brought to you by Sophia Models International. The winner by tap out due to rear naked choke at 1 minute and 54 seconds in the third round. In the blue corner, Mike the Caveman Bully O'Neill.
So Mike O'Neill picks up the win.
I love Mike O'Neill. Last time he was here, he made the highlight reel, and I think he's going to make it again. He's a great fighter, and I can't wait to see him progress in his career.
Mike O'Neill picks up another win tonight over Chad Anheliger. That's it for this episode of Hard Knocks Fighting TV. We want to make sure you check us out online, hardknocksfighting.com, at HK Fighting on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook at Hard Knocks Fighting. For everyone here at the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship, including Ari Tobe and myself, we want to thank you for watching.